Alright, let's talk. My name is Omar Abuezo, and I've spent a fair bit of my life out here, on the water, where the horizon is your only neighbor and the hum of the engines is your constant companion. Now you might look at this console, with all its screens, buttons, and blinking lights, and think it's some kind of high-tech video game. You push a button and this massive steel beast just stays put. Simple, right? Well, let me tell you, that's a dangerous way to think. Out here, complacency is a 4-letter word with 10-letter consequences. This isn't a set-it-and-forget-it kind of job. It's a living, breathing thing. This system, this dynamic positioning system, it's the heart of the operation. But a heart needs a brain. And that, my friends, is you, the DPO. You're not just a monitor. You're the conductor of a very complex, very powerful, and very expensive orchestra. Every light, every number, every subtle shift in the tone of the thrusters is telling you a story. Your job is to listen, to understand that story, and to know what to do before the plot takes a nasty turn. It's about being connected to the machine, to the environment, to every single moving part of this operation. So stick with me. We're going to pull back the curtain and look at the real work of a DPO. It's not about the fancy graphics on the screen, it's about the grit, the awareness, and the proactive mindset it takes to truly master this craft. It's about staying ahead of the machine because the moment you fall behind, the sea will remind you, very quickly, who's really in charge. This is the real job, the part they don't always put in the manual. Let's start with the bedrock of this whole operation: redundancy. It's a word we throw around a lot, but what does it really mean? It means having a backup for your backup's backup. On a DP2 vessel, the whole system is designed to take a punch, a single-point failure, and not even flinch. It won't lose position. But that promise, that guarantee, is only as good as the person sitting in this chair. It's on you to make sure every single one of those redundant pieces, your power sources, your control systems, your position references, every last thruster, is actually online, available, and talking to the system. You can't just assume they're ready to jump in, you have to know. That's where the real work comes in. It's not glamorous, but it's critical. It's the painstaking process of going through your pre-maneuver checklists, ticking every box not because you have to, but because you understand why it's there. It's about respecting the failure modes and effects analysis, that big scary document that tells you what breaks when things go wrong. You need to know it, live it, and test it. Because when that single point failure actually happens, and one day it will, you won't have time to consult a manual. You'll only have time to react, and your reaction will be based on the diligent, unseen work you put in when everything was calm. Now, let's talk about the muscle, the thrusters, and the power plant that feeds them. This is the heartbeat of your vessel. If you're just staring at the position plot, you're missing half the story. You need to be constantly glancing at your power load. Are the generators sharing the burden equally, like a well-trained team of draft horses, or is one getting lazy while another is straining at the leash? An imbalance is an early warning sign, a whisper that something's not quite right in the engine room. And you need to be the first to hear it. It's your job to know the hum of a healthy system. And the thrusters themselves, they're talking to you all the time. You need to watch their feedback, their efficiency. Is a thruster demanding 50% power but only giving you 30% of the push it should? That's a problem brewing. You need to be on the lookout for trends. Are you seeing momentary dropouts, overloads? Are the commands the DP system is sending not matching the feedback you're getting back? These aren't just numbers on a screen, they're symptoms of a potential failure. A good DPO doesn't wait for the big loud alarm. They see the pattern, they spot the deviation, and they start asking questions long before the system starts screaming for help. You can have all the power and thrust in the world, but if you don't know where you are, you're just a very expensive, very powerful cork bobbing in the ocean. That's where your position reference systems, or PRS, come in. The rule of thumb, the absolute bare minimum, is 3. 3 independent sources telling you where you are. Why 3? Because if 2 of them disagree, the third one is the tiebreaker. It's the voice of reason in a digital argument. Relying on just 2 is a coin toss, and you never, ever gamble with a multi-million-dollar vessel and the lives on board. Your job is to be the ultimate skeptic. Don't just accept that the data is good because the light is green. You have to watch it, you have to interrogate it. Is that GPS signal suddenly jumping around? Is that laser plot starting to drift away from the others? That's a data spike, a dropout, a bias, and you need to pounce on it. Deselect it from the system before it has a chance to poison the well, and convince the DP system it's somewhere it's not. And if you can, mix it up. Use a combination of absolute systems like GPS and relative systems like a laser or radar. It gives you a richer, more robust picture of your position, making you less vulnerable to any single point of failure. Out here, the biggest and honestly the most unpredictable force you're up against isn't a mechanical failure. It's Mother Nature. She doesn't follow your checklists, and she definitely doesn't care about your operational limits. The wind, the waves, the current. These are the invisible giants constantly pushing against your hull. Your DP system is fighting them every second of every day. And your job is to be the battlefield commander, to know your enemy. You can't just set your environmental sensors and then go get a cup of coffee. You have to be watching them constantly. A change of just a few degrees in the wind direction or a knot of unforeseen current can dramatically change the game. It can force your thrusters to work harder, putting strain on your power plant and eating into your safety margins. You need to be looking at the forecast, not just for today, but for the next 6, 12, 24 hours. You have to anticipate. If you see the wind is forecast to shift, you can proactively change the vessel's heading to present a smaller profile, making the system's job easier. A good DPO doesn't just react to the weather, they see it coming and get ready for the fight before the first punch is thrown. This is where we separate the operators from the officers. It's about deep, continuous situational awareness. It's not enough to know that the system is working. You need to know how it's working right now, this very second. Which specific GPS is the system using as its primary reference? Which gyro is feeding it heading information? Which inertial navigation system is smoothing out the data? You need to have a mental map of the system's brain, knowing which inputs are currently the most critical. Because that's how you play the what-if game, and you should be playing it constantly. What if that gyro fails right now? What if I lose this generator? What happens to my position if that bow thruster trips offline? You have to run these scenarios in your head, over and over, so you're not surprised when one of them becomes reality. And this awareness extends beyond the console. You need to know your DP footprint, that safe operational bubble around you. Are you still well within your limits? Or is the system having to fight a bit, pushing you closer to that yellow or red line on the chart? You have to be aware of not just where you are, but where you might be in the next 30 seconds if something goes wrong. A lot of people think this job is passive. You watch the screens, you wait for an alarm, you react. That's the mindset of a passenger. A true dynamic positioning officer is a pilot. You are an active, engaged manager of the system. Monitoring is the baseline. Managing is the craft. Sometimes the automatic control, as smart as it is, struggles. Maybe it's a weird combination of current and swell, and the system is overcorrecting, constantly hunting for the perfect heading. That's when you step in. You get your hands dirty. You might preemptively adjust the heading by a few degrees, finding that sweet spot where the vessel is more stable and the thrusters are working less. You might see the system allocating thrust in a way that's inefficient or causing too much vibration. So you go into manual allocation and balance the load yourself, like a conductor quieting the horns to let the strings be heard. The key is to react to the early signs of instability. Don't wait for the yellow alarm. If you feel the vessel starting to yaw, if you see the thrust demand starting to oscillate, that's your cue. You intervene, you stabilize, you manage the situation before it ever becomes a situation. No matter how good you are, no matter how well you manage the system, there will come a time when things go sideways. It could be a catastrophic failure, a sudden squall, or an emergency on the platform next to you. In that moment, all your proactive management, all your careful monitoring has led to this, your readiness to react. You have to be spring-loaded, constantly prepared to abandon the automatic and take full, decisive manual control. Your hands should always know where the joystick is. Your mind should always know the escape route. This isn't just about you either. You are the nerve center, but you're connected to a whole crew. How quickly can you communicate? Your bridge team, the engine room, the client on the platform, they all need to know what's happening, and they need to know it from you right now. Do you know your emergency procedures cold? Do you know what constitutes a DP alert, a DP degraded, or a full-blown emergency disconnect? You have to be ready to make that call, to sound the alarm, to initiate that escape maneuver without hesitation. Your job is to be the calm, clear, authoritative voice in the storm, because when the bell rings, everyone will be looking to you. So you see, this console, this entire system, is an incredible tool. It allows us to do things on the ocean that were unimaginable a generation ago, but it's just that, a tool. And a tool is only as good as the person wielding it. The biggest mistake you can make in this job is to fall into the trap of thinking the machine has it all under control. DP is not set and forget. It's a constant dynamic dance between human, machine, and the raw power of the sea. It demands your respect, it demands your attention, and it demands your engagement. The best DPOs I've ever worked with, the ones you trust with your life and your livelihood, are the ones who are always leaning forward in their chair. They're proactive, they're alert, and they are always ready to take control before the system even knows it needs them to. They don't just see the numbers, they feel the vessel. They're a part of the loop, not just an observer of it. It's a mindset, a discipline, a commitment to excellence in a job where the stakes couldn't be higher. So as you go about your watch, remember that. You're not just a monitor, you're the guardian. You're the conductor. You're the human element that makes all this technology truly work. Stay vigilant, stay curious, and stay ahead of the machine. I'm Omar Abuezo. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there.